Science, it's been the topic of many controversies. In 1996, through over 276 experiments and attempts, science finally cloned the first mammal. That would be Dolly the lamb. A little over 2 years later, in Japan, scientists were able then to clone one cow or calf 8 single times. Ever since this, we've raised the question, with the ability to clone animals, could we do humans? And if so, should we? Well, although cloning has some great benefits, humanity shouldn't over-pursue its needs in clone life, or human life, per se. Since 1979, scientists have been toying with the idea of cloning. They started with mice, just taking and splitting an embryo and implanting it in the womb of a female mice, thus producing not an identical copy, but pretty much a 99% genetic match to the embryo they cloned. Then in 1996, Scottish scientists made Dolly the lamb after 276 previous failures. This one finally went through. And then in 2002, South Korean scientists attempted to clone human embryos. They never successfully did it, or it was never released that it was a success, but it brought a big controversy into this field. Should we clone human embryos for benefits or needs? Another downside of cloning is the health defects that it causes. In most clones, there's usually health defects including a weaker immune system, defects like clotting or tumors, and vital organs such as the heart, brain, and liver. And it also reduces their lifespan. Not just because of the defects or anything, it's because the telomeres, or the part that's our genetic makeup of the chromosomes in our body, with each cell that divides, the telomeres get shorter. Thus, that causes aging. But when you since you're cloning an adult cell, the telomeres are already at half their lifespan. So that's cloning one of those would then produce half the lifespan that's expected. Dolly the lamb only lived 6 years, which is half the life expectancy of 12 years for a sheep. Now, people are going to come with a counterclaim that cloning is good. It can help us. You can clone organs for organ transplants, stem cells, or you can even, this is where it gets dicey, but say you have parents lost their newborn to a disease and it dies, but they have the ability to clone it because they've saved DNA in the future. Do they make the call to clone the baby so the parents can have their child back? It's an ethical decision. Another thing is clones can actually happen naturally. Identical twins naturally occurs. They have the same genetic makeup and all that, but it happens naturally. So that's another reason people think if it happens naturally, why shouldn't we pursue it? And third, for animals, the FDA, or Food and Drug Administration, has approved cloning of the consumption of cloned animals for cows, pigs, and sheep. Those are 3 animals that are now being able to be, they would be cloned and they could be used for human consumption. Well, I believe that cloning, although it has some great upsides, it can save human life and also can repair broken organs if someone needs an organ transplant. I think we shouldn't over-pursue it. I'm not saying we shouldn't pursue it at all. I feel like we could get some needs out of it, but we shouldn't. It needs to be monitored closely, since we've been doing it since 1979, and we've seen some improvements. There have been the health defects. We're not 100% on if they've reduced or gained, but we need to definitely keep our options open with this, but not over pursue it.